Greetings, boys, ghouls, and all non-biased scaries out there. Welcome to the 2020 Spooptober Pastathon.
That
Have the
scared
mic back
the
now?
shit out of me.
Thank you. Right, can I have the mic back now? Yes. Thanks. Wait. Fucking go off to your little corner. You know. Don't make too much noise. Alright. Hey. I'm gonna be stuck with that guy all month. Anyway. Welcome to What Are We Reading? We are in the middle of the 2020 Spooptober Pastathon.
Woot woot.
Woot! I'm Llytic, joined here
I'm-
with Ichigo Koneko,
Yup.
aka Ichi-Tan, because I don't feel like saying that mouthful.
I'll give you a mouthful.
Oh, is that a promise?
Yeah.
Great, we're gonna get fucking killed now.
Whoop, whoop.
Jason Voorhees is just gonna be outside the fucking window, breathing heavily.
I thought I only went after horny teens.
Good point. We're much older. I remember the garden. Anyway. But yep. Decided for this week, gonna look at some classic pastas. So these are things that would have been posted back in like the days of 4chan. I guess back whenever it was slightly less cancerous.
Oof.
Yeah. Anyway, as you could probably tell by the title, depending on how long it takes for us to read this one anyway, and how many diatribes we go on, we're doing Bunnyman Bridge, which is, say this one is probably done more in the form of like one of those old-fashioned campfire stories.
Hells yeah.
So hopefully this will draw us in better.
Step aside, Mothman. It's time for Bunnyman.
Sad moth noises.
I don't like moths, so I'm okay with that. Those
Lol.
things steal your soul. No, straight up, I don't like moths, but straight up, I'm gonna say probably one of the cutest couple costume ideas I've ever seen. Where it's just like having one person dress up as the lamp and the other person dress up as a moth. Because to me, that just seems kind of like adorable, but at the same time, it's like, get away from me.
Part of me just wants to dress up as one of those cute, fluffy moth girls that were popping up whenever that meme was a thing.
I mean, they're cute. Okay, I will admit that I appreciate the little cute monster girl moth girlfriend, soft girlfriends,
Yes.
but like actual moth that just swarm at my face out of nowhere, those things can go die in hell.
Does that happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
What?
And it's even worse. Like when I was younger, and I used to like, before I became an adult and not able to like get time off and stuff like that, I used to like go with my grandparents to their cabin up in the mountains. And because of the higher altitude, bugs up there get fucking massive, including the moths. And because the cabin was so old and we're still working on fixing a lot of like the seals on the windows, stuff like that, like all sorts of bugs and stuff would get in. And nothing's worse than just be laying in bed on your phone at like 12 at night, whatever, and just all of a sudden a moth like almost the size of like the palm of my hand just right at my face all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I've also been attacked by hummingbirds, so I don't like hummingbirds either. They apparently like it when you dress. They apparently really like vibrant colors, and if you happen
Gee, I wonder why.
And if you it was just me and my grandma up at the cabin one time, and I was starting to load up the car for us to head home while she was like kind of cleaning everything, turning off the water, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was wearing my favorite red sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And at the time, like, I had just taken a shower and everything like that, so, like, I smelt very floral, I guess, and, I got swarmed by, like, 12 hummingbirds. And I cried.
Well.
And you think, oh, well, I mean, you were just a kid. Of course, no, I was a fucking 17-year-old at the time, and I was swarmed by hummingbirds, and I cried.
Apparently nature just hates you.
Oh, no, straight up. Like, I'm allergic to most things in nature. Like
there's me who has a habit of just trying to befriend snakes I find outside, and then there's you.
So here's the thing, though. Is I don't have problems with snakes. Like, I have literally just walked straight past a rattlesnake, just all pissed off and, like, ready to strike, and nothing's happened. But small, fast-moving flying things? Oh, no. Those things can
Like you're getting harassed by hummingbirds, meanwhile I'm like, ooh, hey, spiders. Sure, you can crawl on me, friend.
So I think the worst thing that ever happened, didn't even happen to me, but again, it happened up at the cabin. A bat. And here's the story about it, right? This happened my senior year over spring break. We were up at the cabin, and it was like 1:00 in the morning, and I was still up. And I would always sleep in the upstairs loft.
Yeah.
And I was up, and I was like, we had a TV up there, and I was up, and I had my Wii hooked up because I would take my Wii back and forth with me. And I was just sitting there playing. I think I was playing My Sims Kingdom, just chilling, doing my stuff, and I hear like this noise, like something's like scratching, and I was like, "Huh, that's weird." But there's also a bunch of trees, probably the wind, whatever. Then I hear like this kind of small thump, and then that scratching noise. But it sounds like it's on glass. And I'm like, what the hell? So I turn around and I can see in like the little glass bulb of like the light fixture, there's this little black shape. I was like, what the hell is that? And I hear the scritching more and I'm like, what the hell? And I see it like get big and then small again. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm just sitting there watching. And then all of a sudden, this little bat face just peeks over the bridge of the over the lip of the glass dome, and I'm like, that's a motherfucking bat. And I just like flew down the stairs, went and ran across the cabin to my grandparents' bedroom, woke them up, and I'm like, there's a bat in my room. And they're like, what? I'm like, there's a bat in the ceiling, like in the light fixture in my room. My grandpa's like, he's like, you better be serious. I'm gonna be fucking pissed. Like, you're waking me in the middle of the night for this. So I'm standing downstairs with the dog and my grandparent, because the dog hated stairs, so he would never go upstairs. So he's standing at the bottom of the stairs with me, like, huh, what's going on? What are you doing down here? And my grandparents go up the stairs. And I was like, he's in the light fixture. Don't turn on the light. You're gonna scare him. What does my grandpa do? Turns on the fucking light. And I just hear my grandma scream because the bat decided to swoop her, and my grandma just comes. I felt so bad. So my grandma literally like fell down the stairs. Like, she turned around to like go back down the stairs, and it swooped her, so her foot slipped, so she just kind of like
ate it.
She slipped and fell on her butt, and then just kind of like bumped down the stairs on her butt. Yeah. And she stops like halfway down, and they can't find the bat. And so my grandpa's like looking around trying to find the bat. And then my grandma just all of a sudden goes stock still. And my grandpa's like, what? And that's when I see it. The bat's like clinging to her bat. And she's like, get it off me now. And by this point, me and the dog have both ran to hide in the kitchen, and we're just kind of like watching from the kitchen, like, what the fuck's going on? But they end up catching the bat, letting it free outside, And then my grandpa came and he took the glass off, and that's when we noticed like around the where like the electrical part where the bulb was. I guess when there was like kind of holes around it, so my grandpa just took a whole bunch of like Walmart sacks and like stuffed them up in there and put like duct tape and was like, he's like, when we go home, I'll buy the stuff that we need at Home Depot and I'll fix it next time we're here.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
that was that. Yeah, I don't have good luck with small winged creatures.
But yeah, so I guess if we're keeping track at home, we have Llytic, the goth Disney princess, and Ichi-Tan, who apparently is just the bane of small animals.
Only certain things,
Again, my favorite Disney princess moment I've ever had is when, like, this baby spider just crawled up my arm, then perched on my shoulder and stayed there. It was like, you can take a ride, friend.
Like, I have no problems with, like, reptiles or anything like that. One of my friends had a fucking snake that absolutely hated him, and I wanted to hold him, and he was like, oh no, don't. This guy will, like, literally bite the shit out of anybody that touches him, and I was the only person that snake allowed to be held by, and he was like, what the hell? I was like, nah, he just hates you. And then my friend's girlfriend came in, and that snake tried to literally attack her. And I was like, oh, okay, apparently, yeah, no, you're right. He's an asshole to everybody but me. Cool.
But yeah, like, the only bugs I don't really get along with are cockroaches, ants, and wasps. Everything else,
I mean, I think that's fair enough to say with everybody. Like,
I can befriend fucking spiders and scorpions and shit, no problem.
Yeah, like, I think everybody can agree a distinct hatred or disagreement with wasp, ants, and cockroaches.
Especially after that one ended up in my fucking sleeve. Anyway, it has now been over 10 minutes, and we haven't gotten into the thing. Sure,
sorry.
YouTube loves to prioritize watch time, so the algorithm just kind of goes for this shit, but you know... Shit, went so long that okay, there we go. Fucking hell, my computer started to go into sleep mode. Anyway! Let's actually... So every time someone does an impression of me, it's just a fucking Markiplier impression. Back in 1903, deep in Clifton, there used to be an asylum buried deep within the wilderness of Clifton. Pretty sure after the Civil War, people started inhabiting the area. Population-wise, around 300 or so. It was a very small town. Nonetheless, people didn't like the idea of having an asylum miles down the road, so they all got together and signed a petition for the asylum to relocate elsewhere. The petition passed, and a new asylum was built, which is now known as Llytic Prison, a temporary facility for convicts to stay in until they are appropriately sentenced. Yeah, like, even... immediately it has like that campfire story feel, you know?
Something where you could feel like this actually happened.
Yeah, like it starts off normal enough you can suspend your disbelief, and it's yeah.
Alright, let's take a look here. In the autumn of 1904, the convicts were gathered and piled onto the bus, used to transport them to Llytic. Somewhere during the drive, not too far from where they left, the driver had swerved to avoid something, and the bus had started to tip, and was soon rolling into a terrible collision course.
Oh, okay, this is in Virginia.
Cool.
Because Llytic Prison is a place in Virginia. Yeah, Clifton, Virginia. Small town there. Okay.
Okay.
Most of the
No, go ahead.
Most of the convicts were injured, but managed to escape the bus and had fled into the night towards the woods. The next morning, a local police investigation had begun, and they were rounding up the escaped convicts. Hours turned into days, days into weeks, weeks into months. Everyone was recovered after 4 months, except for 2 people, named Marcus A. Walster and Douglas J. Griffin. During the search for both men, the police found dead rabbits, all of them half-eaten and dismembered, every now and then along their search. Huh.
Interesting. Finally, they were to find Marcus dead by the Fairfax Station Bridge, now known as Bunnyman's Bridge. In his hand, he held a man-made hammer/knife-like tool, made with a sharp rock and sturdy branch as a handle. They thought nothing of it and didn't care how he died, only that he was apprehended and they no longer had to worry about him. They had a name for Marcus, but later on they had named the wrong. But later on they would realize they had named the wrong person, the Bunnyman.
Yeah, like that feels like a whole thing of like when you're telling this at a campfire, like later on they would realize they had named the wrong person, the Bunnyman.
Ooh.
Like that has that feel to it.
Yeah.
Which I did just look. This is an actual like urban legend in Fairfax County.
Ooh, nice. I like this.
Yeah. Months passed by and the police gave up their search.
No, you
nope.
skip.
Shit. Still searching for Douglas, they kept on finding dead, half-eaten rabbits every so often while the search went on. Eventually, they were to name Douglas the Bunnyman from then on.
Okay, so months passed by, and the police gave up their search. Everyone assumed the Bunnyman was dead by now, if not gone. So they went on with their small-town lives. Come October, people started seeing dead bunnies reappearing out of the blue, and starting to fear the unseen.
Let's see. But Halloween night came around, and as usual, a bunch of kids had gone over to the bridge that night to drink and do whatever kids their age in the early 20th century did. Midnight came around within minutes, and most of the kids had left. Only 3 of them remained at the bridge.
Exactly at midnight, a bright light came from the bridge, right where the kids were. A few seconds later, they were all dead, throats slashed with that same type of tool that was found next to the other escapee, Marcus. Not only were their throats slashed, but they were cut up and down their chest, gutted like fish. The Bunnyman then hung both boys from one end of the bridge with a rope around their necks, hanging from the overpass with their legs dangling in view of any passing cars.
Ooh. The girl was hung in the same way, on the other side of the bridge. This happened on Halloween in 1905. After that, they didn't see or hear anything from him for another year.
Halloween 1906 was approaching. The parents, as well as the teens in Clifton, still remember the incident that had occurred 1 year ago at the bridge. His bridge. The Bunnyman's bridge.
But yeah, like this, which again, this is like an actual urban legend, so it does kind of have that whole feel of like, that like, strange like reality of like, yeah, like that it has that campfire story feel, largely because that's what it is, just one of those campfire stories just like transplanted onto the internet. Like, this is something that would have been told around like fucking campfires in like Virginia.
Mm-hmm. And they're pretty accurate with the type of vehicles, because at first I was like, did they really have buses back then? And yeah, no, I was able to actually like find some, like, they had
were buses a thing in 1907?
Yeah, there was they were called a steam bus, and they were powered by steam engines.
Okay.
But
Well, like, because I was looking into it, which is why I've been kind of silent. But apparently, in 1970, there was a whole thing of a guy in a bunny costume with an axe that had apparently just started, like, vandalizing a person's porch. Talking about, like getting angry at people, like, trespassing everywhere. And so, that part of, like, some weird curmudgeon in a bunny costume just going around swinging an axe at things, that seems to have actually happened, and that's likely what kind of gave, uh, like, inspiration for this story. Because,
Interesting.
like, stuff like this, there's always, like, that grain of truth of, like, okay, where did this come from? Like, La Llorona, very possible that, like, woman whose husband left her, and, like, the fucking kids died shortly after, and people started, like, talking and shit.
Yeah.
And, like, El Silbon. I don't know why all the ones I'm immediately thinking of are Spanish. Or, Spanish, I don't know the right one. Mesoamerican, let's go with that. Like, Mexico and southward. But, or you have shit like, Lady Midday, who's, like, this fucking European, like, demon-ass who is literally just heat stroke. And so it's a whole thing of you had people that were passing out or dying in the middle of the day, and it was like while they were working because they were overheating, and so, like, that started being, like, what happened to him? Oh, it was Lady Midday. Like, it's like with urban legends like this, there's always that weird grain of truth. And yeah, like, Mothman, it easily could have been like a fucking barn owl. That's the one that's typically said because barn owls can get pretty fucking big. They have
Oh
faces
yeah.
that kind of match the description and, like, the eyes and all that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the most
Mothman's,
common explanation for Mothman that I've heard is that it was probably like a barn owl.
yeah. Some fucking drunk teens saw, like, a barn owl and got fucking spooked by it.
Like there was something that I saw that was somebody was talking about like some origins of like myths and stuff, and somebody
Yeah.
said there's a possibility that like the whole idea of, like a centaur came from the idea of seeing somebody ride horseback for the first time and they were like going so fast they couldn't really like be like what? Because like
I,
they
there
were more
is that,
common to
but
use like wagons and chariots than to actually like ride the
yeah.
horse.
But at the same time, with stuff like that, there is also the question of whether or not the myth symbolized something, which in Greek mythology, centaurs and satyrs did, and it was horniness. That's why early depictions of satyrs just have, like, fucking 3-foot long dicks that are always hard.
Yeah. Goat man.
Goat man and his throbbing erection. There is, like, a fucking Texas urban legend of, like, some fucking, like, goat man type thing. But yeah, because, like, Mothman's always described, like, one of the things always described is, like, doesn't have a neck and, like, the head's more, like, retracted into the shoulders and shit like that.
Yeah.
And you know what it looks like whenever an owl, like, just kind of scrunches its head down? Like a human torso with no neck.
Yep, it's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, like, there is always, like, an element of truth to this sort of thing. So it seems that, like, with the Bunnyman bridge thing, there was just, like, some fucking weirdo in a rabbit costume just getting upset at trespassers and hacking apart this guy's porch. Anyway, but yes, let's see. That night, 17s were left remaining right before midnight at the bridge. Making little of it, 6 remained inside the bridge, while one, Adrienne Hadala, had remained a good distance from the bridge, hoping to have enough time to escape if the same thing happened again. She was the only one to witness this, a dim light walking the railroad track just before midnight, stopping right above the bridge at midnight, then disappearing at the same time that that bright flash was inside the bridge. She heard the deafening sounds of terrified screaming from inside the bridge that only lasted only seconds. Moments later, they were all hung from the top of the bridge in the same way as the corpses a year later. A year earlier, fuck! Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Horrified, she ran home and refused to tell all of what she saw. Just spattered words mixed with incoherent mumblings that the people of her town had to put together to come up with their story. No one understood it or believed her. They charged her with the teen's murders and locked her up in the asylum of Lorton. In 1913, the same thing happened, with 9 teenagers this time, on a Halloween night once again.
You know, somehow I don't think it's Adrian. Yeah, like, I don't feel scared with this one, but I am having fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that fun, spooky? Or I guess not spooky is the right word, but like, this gives me the feeling that I should be eating some fucking s'mores.
Yeah.
Ooh, camping would be fun.
Yes.
There's a canyon nearby. Ooh, that could be a place.
Yes.
And then we'd have to, like, set up a time to do that, and have to get camping equipment, tents, and all that shit.
I have all that stuff in storage.
Obvious, of course.
I mean, we go, like, we're obviously not going this year, but we go to the
Yeah.
Ren Fair, and we typically will camp when we go.
Ah.
Because it's
Yeah.
usually cheaper than getting hotel.
Though, part of me just wants to go to the fucking canyon again, because it's weird. My allergies never act up there.
I've never been to the canyon, so that would be a fun trip.
I like it, but I also just like climbing things.
Yes. Climbing is fun.
I think I've sent you pictures of just me, like, just 40 feet up.
Yes.
It's like,
Every
hey,
time
look
you
it.
go, I always get just like 30 pictures of you just doing random outdoorsy things, and I'm like, what'd you do? Just go have a freaking like photo shoot?
Just me in, like, a fucking tank top and shorts.
And like my favorite thing though is like whatever you send pictures of like little rock formations of little animals that you saw, and like, look at this cool thing I found. Because like, yes, it's nice to see you all like climbing like a freaking.
Like, I believe at one point I've been described as a horrific mix between a lizard and a goat.
Yes. Yes, based on some of the pictures that have been sent to me, I would agree to that as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy your weird like lizard climbing skills, but at the same time, it's also nice whenever you just like you send me a picture of your rock and you're like, look at this rock I found. It looks like this, and then I'm sitting there like, I have no idea what that's actually supposed to look like, but
Look at
thank
this
you.
stuff. Isn't it neat?
Pretty much.
Yeah, fucking outdoorsy goth Disney princess.
Also, whenever you like send me a picture of this cave and you're like, this cave is really, really small, I don't think I'm gonna fit. And then like a couple messages later, I got stuck in the cave.
I don't think I've said that.
No, there was one where you like, I fit, and then you're like, and then a couple of texts, and I'm like, oh, cool, nice for you. And then like a couple minutes later, I don't know if I can get out. And I was like, God damn it. And then update, someone got me out.
It's one of those things where it's like one of the things that's helpful about like the fucking like proportions of my hands is I can just get a fucking grip. Yeah, I can get up things easy. It's getting down that's the hard part.
Yeah. It's like you know, it's exactly what it was. It's like I got up, I climbed the wall, I got into the cave. I can't get down. I am stuck.
Like a fucking cat.
Exactly.
Someone get Llytic out of the tree again. He's stuck. Yeah, like, because that's the issue with like the fucking Panhandle is everything's fucking flat, and so I'm less outdoorsy. Like, I need a place like anytime I go up to Wisconsin, like there's this fucking river, and it's like, yeah, I could just go across. I could just go along that fucking river. Like, it's got a nice aesthetic. I like the sandbars and all that shit. Sound of the rushing water. I'm not gonna go in the fucking water because I would die, but like everything's just so fucking flat here, and so unless it's going to like the canyon, I don't have as much of an interest in just being outdoors. Because like, oh hey, it all looks the same. The only real difference is that's a different patch of grass.
Oh no, I'm trying to convince like my grandparents, like once this just kind of depending on how things go, trying to convince my
Yeah.
grandparents to see if they will let me and my roommates go up to the cabin.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, like
I fucking love to hang out at the cabin.
totally think you would love it up. Yeah, I think you would
Oh,
love
yeah.
it up there.
But, because, like, there's another place, it's a ways away, called Wildcat Bluff. I went there for, like, an arachnology class. Like, you know, collecting spiders. And
Yeah.
part of the whole thing is basically a trail that's just kind of through a cattle ranch, basically. Which, hearing a cow moo in the distance, like, what do you want? Which, if that doesn't explain me perfectly, I don't know what does. But there was a moment of like one of those like windmills that pumps water so that like the cattle can get water.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, there's a spider out there. Does anyone not have this one? And I literally just had the bug net and just fucking like climbed up the fucking tower to get to it.
So my favorite thing about like where my grandparents' cabin is like so it's kind of near Riodoso.
Yeah.
But like so when I say it's near Riodoso, like you can cut driving through the reservation
Yeah.
and it's like 30 minutes from where their cabin is.
Yeah.
And you just have to be really, really careful driving through the reservation because just sometimes just be driving and all of a sudden there's like 5 cows on the road and then you're just kind of like stuck
Yeah.
until they decide to move.
It's like Ireland and sheep.
Yeah.
That can't make the work. Sheep in the way.
But we're also like from where their cabin is, it's about a 2-3 hour drive to White Sands National.
Yeah.
So that's also cool.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like I'd be more outdoorsy if I was in a place that just had more, like, fucking stuff to go and just like look at and shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It's
one of
just where
those things of like
it's because of literally just where we live. It's just like flat,
flat. The
nothing
most
to do.
interesting thing is just occasionally it's a really confusing art piece.
Right. There's
Which
a
out
there,
where I
so they're trying to do more art around town,
yeah.
which just makes for random uh I can't spell. Just makes for random little statues all over town.
Yeah.
And there's just this random statue of an armadillo, but it's like you can like oh my god, where is it? It's so it's supposed to be like these pop art, but it
Yeah.
just looks like this
Why is this
it just looks like a
armadillo here?
child's drawing, like cookie cutter. Like it could be like a cookie cutter or a child's drawing. And
Is it literally just like a fucking metal cutout of an armadillo?
no, hold on. I'm
Okay,
sending it.
I've seen shit like that before. Or I typically see buffalo actually, like
I'm sending it to you
a
now. And it's like
big
this
metal cutout of
bright
a buffalo.
it's this bright blue. Hold on, I'm sending it right now.
Man, and it's one of those whole things of like I find the art pieces a lot less. Are you sure that's an armadillo that looks like a pig?
They've said it's an armadillo.
I don't think armadillos have tails like that.
They've said it's an armadillo.
Well,
They've said it's an armadillo. I don't know.
Are you sure about that?
the artist who made it has said it is an armadillo because there was a huge debate about it, and they said it was an armadillo.
Like, are you sure you didn't just make a pig? It's an armadillo. Really, it looks like Peppa crawling around on all fours.
Okay, and then we have this other one that's by the same artist.
Oh dear. I don't want to hate on this guy's art, but like, I get the whole simplicity of it. I'm still bugged by that fucking tail, because that's not an armadillo's tail. Armadillos don't have tails that look like that. But is that other one supposed to be like a coyote?
I think so. Oh, wait, hold on. Here's the other armadillo. This one looks better, though. Okay, so that one might actually be the pig. I don't know. But there's also another one that looks more like an armadillo. So yeah, the first one might have been a pig. But here's the other armadillo.
Yeah, that's an armadillo tail. Okay. Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking about. I was like, is that the no? Yeah, that might be a pig then, or that might be like,
or at very least a peccanary.
Yeah, but no. So like this art, so downtown is like where the art and stuff is. And you kind of see in the background of the first one, like the mural on the side of the freeway.
Yeah, the
loop or whatever. Yeah. But like, so like they're sitting there because like our downtown is where all the big art and stuff is. And so they're sitting there and they're trying to bring art to the rest of town outside of just downtown. And that was part of their plan. There's also a ballerina and some other stuff. And they just like make no sense.
It's peccary, not peccanary. Basically like the type of like pigs that they aren't quite native to the New World. It's a whole thing of like they were brought over
invasive species,
but they're not recent invasive species.
Yeah,
they were more brought over when like I guess more like whenever the Native Americans were like crossing the land bridge and shit like that, and then some of those got loose, and so they are a group of like wild pigs that are very much distinct from wild boars. Because there's that several thousand years between when they popped up and when the wild boars got over here.
Yeah.
And so, like, they aren't, like, technically speaking, they've been around long enough to kind of be native. Also known as javelinas.
Yeah.
Central and South America. Yeah. They are often confused with the pig family that originated in Afro-Eurasia, since some domestic pigs brought by European settlers escaped and their descendants are now feral razorback hogs in many parts of the U.S. But yeah. So they're not the same as like a wild boar. But if memory serves, their whole origin is that they were, Mayans kept herd of peccaries, using them in rituals and for food. Peccaries evolved in Europe around 30 million years ago and spread across much of the world. In the old world, peccaries went extinct, but they survived in North America.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway. We have gotten off track.
So off track.
We started talking about the outdoors, because I want to camp. Just creating excuses to hang out. Hadrian was still locked up. I can't do Sylvester Stallone's voice. My lips aren't that mobile.
Ouch.
At least not on individual sides. Like, top and bottom, whatever, but I can't, like, just drop one corner of my lip. I can't! Like,
I don't think anybody really can.
Yeah. Hadrian! That just sounds insulting. I guess big props to Sylvester Stallone for doing better than his brother Frank. Loved you in the Italian Stallion.
God damn it.
Is that a bad joke?
A little bit, but we're bad people.
It's not my fault that he was in a porno called The Italian Stallion.
Like I said, it's a bad joke, but it's a tasteful bad joke.
Anyway, let's see. They dropped her sentence, but it was too late. The insanity had finally conquered her. Even if she was released, she was too far gone to have a life, and so she spent her remaining years in the asylum until she finally died in 1953 of reported shock.
Ooh, shock. Let's see. No one knows exactly what she died of shock from, but supposedly she had died in her sleep, dreaming of that one dreaded night. Perhaps the Bunnyman had finally got her.
Again, like, this feels like a campfire story. I like it.
Yeah.
Like, not very scary, but most campfire stories really aren't. They all depend on the atmosphere in which they're given. Which, even
Yeah.
though I have my lights off, and there is again that weird spider skeleton thing that decided he needed to intro this shit, just sitting in the corner staring at me. No, then. No, great, you're over there too now. Cool. More murders were to take place, however, although after the murders in 1913, most people stayed clear of the bridge on Halloween. Makes sense.
Yep. Let's see. 1943 rolls around and 6 teenagers go strolling out on a Halloween night. A couple hours later, all of them were dead, the same way as all the others. Investigations took place, but as usual, nothing was discovered.
I mean, you would think with how regularly this happens, they'd just be like, okay, please stop going to the bridge. Granted, this is a difference of 30 years, so I guess,
Yeah.
1976, same situation occurs, this time with only 3 people. Also, this guy's apparently been, like, going for like 60 years. Holy shit.
Right? Let's see
Wow.
here.
That's my excuse.
Let's see. The only other incident that occurred since then was in 1987, 12 years ago. Okay, so yeah, this is old. Janet Charletier was enjoying the night out with 4 friends. Halloween night had finally come, and they'd gone driving out to enjoy the night after invading the children's candy bags. They had settled around 11 p.m. at the bridge, waiting for midnight to come. They didn't believe in the myth, so they decided to see it for themselves. And were to be the only ones who actually withstood the Bunnyman. They had waited around an hour or so it was nearly midnight, when Janet started to get a little scared. They had all been pulling pranks on each other, jumping out of the bushes and screaming. So she was already a little worked up. Midnight hits, and by this stage, she's in total panic.
Okay, so the original of this would have been posted in 1999 based on that first sentence.
Yeah.
So now we have a time frame. Interesting. Which, that also means this would have been about 30 years after the actual real life incident that likely inspired the whole thing.
Yeah.
She's almost out of the bridge when the lights get really bright inside. When that happens, her body is halfway outside the bridge. She sees her skin start tearing at her chest, but nothing is piercing her skin. She manages finally to leave the bridge. Completely horrified, she hits a hanging body and knocks herself out.
Holy fuck.
That is a solid body. Just thwack.
Oh, whack. I see. When she awakens, she discovers that she has been bleeding. She was lucky that the cut had just started and wasn't very bad at all. She left and never returned to the bridge again.
I don't think I would either.
Yeah, straight up.
She's been seen sitting on a swinging bench on her balcony every morning, just staring in the direction towards the bridge a couple miles downtown. From then on, the story remains untouched and unmoved.
Ooh.
The thing I find interesting is that this is taking like a strictly supernatural angle, which has me wondering if that means that it's supposed to be the dead guy that was actually doing the killing. You know, the guy that was originally called the Bunnyman, not the guy that was never found.
Or if he was even the Bunnyman to begin with, and like say maybe he got killed by the Bunnyman. Because they said they never investigated as to like the guy who was found dead by the bridge. They never like investigated into like how he died or anything like that, and they just like assumed that like maybe either the other guy killed him or something, and then just gave the other guy the handle of the Bunnyman because they never found him.
Yeah. Well, like, because I was looking at, like, the old, like, stories, and that second guy, I didn't really see him ever mentioned. It was just the first guy.
Yeah, like, they mentioned him kind of briefly. They're like, oh, well, it's these two guys that we, like, that they had trouble finding, and then they found the one guy, and then they never found the other guy, and then they just never mentioned him again.
Yeah, which, again, Campfire stories kind of like, Campfire stories are typically done via word of mouth. They aren't typically written down. So it makes sense that there would be some crazy-ass drift. It's like mythology before, like, written text was involved.
Right.
But yeah. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was good.
It was fun. One of the fucking tags for this is mental illness.
But also part of me is just kind of like plan a future Halloween trip to this bridge.
Like, we're going to Virginia. No, I don't want to go back there. Not again.
Pull a Shane and Ryan and be like, dance on your bridge, Bunnyman.
Okay, the question is, which of us is which? I feel like we're just two Shanes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Neither of us is the Ryan Brigara. Partly because I don't think either of us is really much of a conspiracy theorist.
We're just both the idiots who are like, oh, there's a chance a supernatural entity might rip our throat out if we
possess me, demon.
Let's go.
Please yeet my body through the wall. Yeah, like, I don't think either of us really, at very least, like, I don't, like, have any real fear of the supernatural. It's like, well, if it kills me, I guess that finally proves it exists.
Look, the supernatural, I'm kind of like, cool, whatever. Could be real, could not. But I will not fuck with the Fae. That is one thing. That's one bridge I will not cross. Will not fuck with the Fae.
The question is, what gets listed under Fae? Are we talking strictly traditional Fae? So it's basically just everything in like Gaelic and Celtic mythology, or are you just describing like just any number of supernatural phenomenon from all over the place?
I'm following more of the Celtic Gaelic.
Okay.
Celtic and Gaelic, because that you just don't fuck with them, man. You just don't.
So if we see a giant skinless horseman coming out of the water,
you run. Or if you
you just run in general, even if you don't know that it's a Knuckle-a-V.
You also just stay away from the fucking mushroom circles.
Oh, that reminds me of like the whole Mr. Truth thing, in which I just decided, hey, I'm just gonna have the fairy mound straight up be like fucking technically portals to an entire world, so the Sede is straight up another straight up another realm entirely that's just tenuously connected to Earth through Ireland.
Oh Lord.
Well, I was like, okay, how do I explain all this shit? Welp, time for pocket dimensions. You think that's hard? Try fucking Australia's Dreamlands.
Oh God.
I basically decided that the thinnest place between the waking world and the land of dreams is Australia.
I mean, it makes sense. Everything there's trying to kill you.
Yeah. As well as, like, the thinnest place between, like, the spirit world and the, like, living world, I guess, is, like, Eastern Asia. Because of the whole thing of it's straight up, like, that's the main place where I keep seeing stuff like in Japan, it's the Ikai, where, like, yokai will just disappear to whenever they're not in the world of, like, people.
Nice.
So it is stated that it's a separate world that kind of just coexists with ours.
Oof. All
So, anyway.
Things.
But yeah, like, figuring out, like, how to fucking interlock all this shit.
Yeah.
Which... Yeah, some of that shit's just fucking weird. Really weird is the fact that apparently, according to some stories, Kitsune can just fucking manipulate space-time.
Huh.
Which is why, like, the whole thing explained with that one character that I've been telling you, like, plot stuff related to her, of, like, how that fucking happened, like, that's how.
Fair enough.
It'd probably be ones that have, like, particularly strong, like, supernatural abilities. Anyway, so not, like, just any Kitsune can do it, just, like, specific ones.
Specific.
Anyway.
Anyways,
special thank you to Summer Moon Soldier and Destiny Baird for supporting us on Patreon. If you like what we do and like support us in any way, consider going to that link in the description and pledging any amount of money you want. Every little bit helps. Barring that, if you don't want to send us money, then, usual YouTube bullshit.
YouTube bullshit.
I just saw that fucking, like, status of one of the people in the server, the gayest straight man. I think that was, like, one of the things I made a joke about in my fucking profile back when I was on Hot or Not. Anyway. Oh, if only I knew. Granted, I still lean to being attracted to people who are, I guess, more feminine coded. But, besides the point, I like my women butch and my men slightly femme. But I'm still gonna go for butch women over femme boys any day, given the choice. See you next time. Bye-bye.